If you're just getting started in reselling, you may be wondering which site is better, Poshmark or eBay. They both allow you to sell both used and new clothing. I am going to say something pretty controversial here, but I prefer Poshmark above and beyond. I list on both. The way that I cross post things is that I write everything out in a separate Word document, and I have my pictures ready to go in an organized file, and then I list it at Poshmark, on Poshmark and eBay at the same time. The tricky thing about this is that when something sells, you have to go and get it off the platform the other way, because that can really affect your rankings on that site if you sell something that you actually don't have anymore. So I list on both, but if I only had time for one, I would really focus on Poshmark. The first reason is it's free. I know you do get a certain number of free listings on eBay, but to really have an amount of inventory, you're going to need a store, which you might, I think the lowest store is for 250 listings, or I have a store that allows me to do 1,000 listings and I think 500 auctions, and I never use that many auctions. So the great thing about Poshmark is that it is free to list, and I was looking around at some other sites, even like Etsy, and it was 10 cents per listing, which doesn't sound like a lot of money, but when you have 1,000 items, it sure is nice to get, you know, that money, to not have to pay that money. The other reason I really like Poshmark is I know exactly what the fees are. 20%. It sounds like a lot. If you sell something under $12, I think it's $2.95, which is a higher percentage. And then if you're offering shipping discounts and offer to likers, it's $1.50 or over $6 if you choose the free shipping option. I always choose to eat the $1.50 shipping cost so that the buyer is paying $4.99 shipping. I find it results in a lot more sales. I have experimented with offering people free shipping, and it hasn't really worked, or it's worked about the same. So just so I can make some kind of profit, I only offer the $1.50 discount. So 20% does sound high, but when you're taking eBay fees into account, when you're taking into the account that on Poshmark the buyer always pays shipping, on eBay a lot of you can determine whether or not you pay the shipping when you list the item, but a lot of the buyers are going to expect you to pay the shipping or to give them enough a discount to basically get it for free. And if you're selling items under $15, then it is really going to eat into your profit to have to pay their shipping. And so I've sat down, I've ran the numbers, I've found, you know, on Poshmark you don't pay PayPal fees, and I'm not sure if there is a fee if you want your money sent to you by check. I just have it deposited, so really no fees like that. So I actually end up with more of a percentage of profit on Poshmark, even though they do take that 20%. It depends on the price range you're selling in, and I'd really rather move a lot of volume. The other reason I choose Poshmark over eBay is the same reason that other people hate Poshmark. It's because you get to interact with the site. You get to determine how many sales you make. Now, that may be a controversial statement, but I've been making websites for over a decade, and I am so frustrated by waiting for traffic or doing this or that and hoping it pays off in 6 months or a year, and waiting to get your top seller status on eBay, hoping that this is going to boost your traffic, boost your sales. Maybe people are going to finally, you know, be willing to pay for things at a higher price point, I would rather be able to work harder on Poshmark to be able to share, to be able to gain more followers, and then have to sit and wait on eBay and hope that I'm doing things correctly. I believe on Poshmark that if you're willing to put in the time, you can make sales. You just can. And that is the same reason people don't like the site, is because they want to be able to make sales just overnight, not doing anything. But that's just not the way that I believe the internet works. I've always had to focus a lot on marketing to get out any amount of profit and have that built right into the site. I consider sharing and building my followers as part of the it's probably the most important thing I do. I have another video that you can watch on when I share, and another video on how I share as quickly as possible. But it is part of my overall business plan to be interacting with this site, and when they make a change, okay, I'm going to make that change. There are probably some people who are willing to work harder than me, but maybe, I don't know. I think I work pretty hard, and I'm willing to put in the time and the effort. Now, I'm not saying, there's some people that they just don't have that time. It's just not there. They have kids, they have other jobs, and eBay may be the better way to go for you then, just because you have a wider audience. You can let your listing sit. I like to be able to be proactive and know, if I do this amount of activity, I can expect about this dollar amount. It slows down at certain times of the year, or I'll have a lot of unexpected sales sometimes, but I try to be really consistent in my action. And that's probably one of my biggest Poshmark tips, is to be able to keep going when the sales aren't coming in. When you first start out and you're not making sales, or when it's a slow time of year and you're hearing summer slowdown, nobody's making sales, nobody's selling anything. Not to brag, but I'm still going to be making sales. I may be working harder for those sales, I may be working longer hours for those sales, but there is not going to be a week where I just don't sell anything, because I like Poshmark because you really get to be in charge. And the other good thing about Poshmark is, I know there's all this talk about algorithms and different formulas, and that's probably true. I think it's true, but I don't chase after that. And the reason I don't chase after that is because if I'm doing what I have found is good for my business, which is listing first, listing as much as possible, having great products that are photographed beautifully, then it's not going to sell itself. But when I put in the time to share and follow, it is going to sell. It may sit for a while. That's why I have a larger inventory. That also has to do where I source. I can't get the really super popular brand names where I live, and so I have to focus a lot on the staple pieces in women's wardrobes. So that's why I love Poshmark over eBay, is you get out what you put into it, and it can be really discouraging, but just taking consistent action, no matter what's happening, no matter if you just got a seller rating you think is totally unreasonable, and just being able to go forward no matter what. That's my biggest tip. But if I could only choose one site to sell on, it would be Poshmark. I know people make outrageous incomes on eBay. I hope to be there one day as well. I cross post on both, but I like that on Poshmark you can really control your sales by the amount of interaction you're willing to do. So leave a comment below about which site you like better, and subscribe for more Poshmark tips and advice. Thanks for watching.